the way to get the car.
Again.
Again, supposedly. Ta-da! We have it back, minus the one stripe that is missing, but they will fix it. Looks like a new car compared to what it looked like before. And now we're gonna drive it. We drove it 1 block. Feels good. It feels really weird, to be completely honest with you, especially after driving Mary Soul, and everything is a little bit different. So everything was running good up to the point where we took the car on the highway, we dropped off the rental car, and now the car is running hot. It's not running hot right this moment because we were just driving, but if you let it sit and idle, it went all the way up to the warning zone where I thought we were going to overheat. Well, the car will go back in the morning. I'll have them look at the radiator. That was just some initial panic, but right now, going to the movies. We're gonna go see a little Justice League, or as I like to call it, the Super Friends.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 4 greatest heroes. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
Alright, so we just got back home from watching Justice League. Right to the matter, Mary gave the movie, on the Mary scale, a 3 out of 5. Jess gave the movie a 4 out of 5. And if you don't want to watch any more comments from me about the movie, I'm not going to give any spoilers. I would give this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. And if you didn't know, somehow, and you're watching this channel and not into geeky comic book type movies, Justice League is kind of the culmination of the films that we've had recently, with Man of Steel, then Batman vs. Superman, and Wonder Woman. And I think what Justice League had going for it is that we traditionally know the backstory of a lot of these characters. We've had a lot of context with Superman in Man of Steel, and then probably so much blowback from the Batman vs. Superman movie where folks either really liked it, which I did, or really disliked it, on which probably the massive amount of people that are watching the DC universe unfold felt about the movie. I really enjoyed Batman vs. Superman. I enjoyed Wonder Woman as well, but those movies gave context to characters that we know from comic book lore, and also characters that are going to be featured in Justice League. So Justice League also adds 3 additional characters. We get Cyborg, we get Aquaman, and we get Flash. And those characters' backstories, they're not as well developed as the other characters, as Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, obviously, because they don't have their own movie. But they're kind of shoehorned into this film. I think, Warner Brothers has this mandate where their movies need to be 2 hours or less. So this movie clocks in at 1 hour and 59 minutes. It had a kind of a directorial or helm shuffle here with Zack Snyder leaving the project and Joss Whedon coming in to finish the project. And I don't think that made that much of a difference as far as having different influences in the movie. I just think that at times things seem rushed, but they somehow seem rushed in a kind of like a fit of boredom. There is a long backstory to the movie, or build up to the movie rather, that doesn't necessarily have any big payoff in this movie. I did think Ezra Miller was kind of like a scene stealer in the movie. As Flash character was portrayed really well. The special effects with the Flash were done really well as well. And I think we've seen the similar type of character as Flash with Quicksilver in both the X-Men movies and then with the Avengers movies. So we kind of know, we have a character that is fast and can move faster than things can move, so it can stop things. And I have to say that Ezra Miller doing the Flash brought a lot more life to that character than its Marvel counterpart with Quicksilver. I think Ben Affleck in the movie as Batman, and more often than not Bruce Wayne, really is not the Batman that I think fits well or would fit well with this particular storyline. Ben Affleck seems to kind of be trotting through the movie itself. I thought Jason Momoa did well in the movie. I'm not familiar with Jason Momoa's background or what he's done in the past. I can say that as far as Aquaman's portrayal goes, he did really well. I mean, he fit a character that, I mean, growing up, in anything that you watched, whether it was, anything Justice League or Super Friends or comic book wise, Aquaman was never like that premier character to me. It was always kind of like a secondary type character that fit along with other characters, but Momoa kind of makes him into his own, his brooding, kind of sex symbol type character. Ray Fisher as Cyborg, I liked the character Cyborg. I don't think that it necessarily matched up to comic version Cyborg, but does the job in the movie. He bridges the gap in between what their objective is for the plot points and the character itself, so he fit well for the movie itself. As far as the villain goes, and again, no spoilers, the villain in this movie is Steppenwolf. It's not the greatest DC villain. I think that, when you think of, people that they could have, or characters that they could have used for the film to move things forward, could have probably used, a variety of other characters that would have made this movie really a blockbuster, instead of what I feel is kind of like a gap fill to get to the next movie. And basically, at the end of the day, for me, Justice League is really just that. It's a gap fill to get to the next installment of all of these characters together and not individual films. Henry Cavill, Superman, I don't think it's any big surprise that Superman is in the movie. And I think DC and Warner had a difficult task ahead of them because, part of the storyline is where we were left off with Batman vs. Superman is that Superman is dead. Although in the initial promotional stuff, I believe the initial teaser trailer had Superman in it as well, and we've seen Henry Cavill also used in the last trailer that was released leading up to the release of this film. I think his portrayal of Superman, for as limited as it is, it's a good job. It's in line with the other movies. I just didn't think that this movie was as good as what it could have been. And I think that the problem is, and I don't want to get into this thing of comparing Marvel movies versus DC movies, but Marvel movies, I think, at times tend to beat the expectations for what they're going to be. And this movie had so much capability that I just don't think that it lived up to. I will say this, the last two cutscenes of the movie after the credits were probably better to me than the story for the main film itself. And that's, a real genuine feel for what is to come. I think what's to come is going to be amazing. What this is, it's kind of felt like a very mediocre storyline gap. It's almost like when you watch The Walking Dead and not every episode could knock the ball out of the park, and there's things that are just used to tie the story together. To me, that's Justice League. Like I said, the interaction, some of the stuff was great. It was fun to see these characters interacting with each other. Some of the acting was really fun. It was a little more lighthearted than the other prior DC movies. The special effects and the CGI that's used in the movie as well, really, really awful. Some of the scenes, like the background pieces for battles and things, it really looked bad to me. And I think it looked so much better in prior movies. While I wasn't the biggest fan of Man of Steel as well, one of my big complaints towards the end of the movie was that the movie focused on like one family, not 11 families, one family that was so impacted that Superman needed to save that one family when he was doing battle in Man of Steel. That same mentality carries over to this film too, and I think after you go to see it, you'll know exactly what I mean. But I just think there could have been so much more, and maybe next movie, if they can get to a next movie. All of this universe building out there, I know Universal just canceled the Dark Universe for their monster movies, the Universal Monsters. Everything I think is kind of on pace or trying to be like Star Wars, where we have an installment on a regular basis or annual basis, and Marvel movies where we're getting at least one installment, if not more, of their characters on an annual basis. I don't know if DC needs to be that. I'd rather see an amazing DC movie than see something that we're just putting out to try to be in line with the competition. And that's kind of my feeling. 2.5 stars. On that note, we're going to wrap for the day. We're going to wake up early and bring the car back and hopefully get the radiator looked at, and it'll be working fine where it doesn't overheat. So thank you very much for coming along with us. Thank you very much for all of your likes and your comments and your subscriptions. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Have a great night. We'll see you guys.